Previously on The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon.
Damn, an opening scene with a ruthless villain that then loses her husband, and we feel bad for her. We actually get her perspective on the outbreak. Jeez, holy shit, this one moved fast. This was a great episode. This is one of the greatest action sequences of the Walking Dead universe. And they fucking kill her. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this season just like completely started to throw me off. Man, this has to be one of the most intense first halves of an episode I've ever seen in my life.
You just follow me. Come on, let's go. Where are we going? God damn it.
Well, damn, I didn't know this turned into the Angry Grandpa Show. Hey guys, it's Dan, your host of your Dan's Reviews, and today I'm back for another video for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol Season 2. We're going to be talking about our next episode this season for Daryl Dixon. This is for episode 4, titled The Paradis pour toi. Alright guys, this one's going to be doing a review today. This one's going to be doing a review for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol Season 2. And in today's video, we're going to be going over this week's episode of Daryl Dixon. This is for episode 4 of Season 2. This one is called The Paradis pour toi. So, the Paradise for You, I think it's called in English. But, damn, holy shit. I mean, fuck. This season, man, I'll tell you one thing. From the really slow premiere that we got, and then we get shit like this, I'm like, oh my god. This season, like, picked up and then some. I don't know what the hell happened, but, yeah. You know, I'd be lying if I said this was a perfect episode. You know, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to say it's perfect. I have problems with this episode, but it was the most intense episode, like, at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's, to me, how the episode goes, in a summary way, before I fully break it down. Everything was going perfectly. It was going perfectly. Like, the episode was just perfect. Even, like, the Daryl and Carol reunion, it was going perfect. And then they fucking kill Isabelle. And I was like, why the fuck would you kill that character like that? I don't get it. And then it turned into, like, these old people that they run into, and we're, like, chilling, having dinner with these old people when they're supposed to be looking for Laurent. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But then it kind of got interesting, because then Janae got, you know, like, then Janae came in, and then we had her death scene, and I was like, oh shit, you know? And then the episode kind of got good again, and then it ended. I was like, what the fuck do I say about this episode? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mostly enjoyed it, but there was some shit that pissed me off this episode at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm going to get into that. We're going to break this all down. I guess let's just get right into it. Yeah, there you go. So, we start things off. Carol is in the crowd. She's about to get gunned down, and she basically hides in the crowd as they all get gunned down. This big crowd of people that get gunned down from the, you know, pouvoir, right? And they basically turn them into walkers. Basically, they turn them into walkers to use them as a force against their battle towards the nest. And you've got Caudron that is basically tied to the back of this car. Carol sees her chance and takes Caudron and leaves. Basically, they go inside the nest for safety, shelter, stuff like that. And they go in there and she unties Caudron, and Caudron takes on the dead. Basically. And they let the dead flood into the nest, basically. They let them kind of flood in and do their job, and then the pouvoir comes in and tries to basically do the rest, right? That's kind of the idea. But it's an intense scene because you've got Daryl that, of course, is locked up. Daryl's locked up in the cell. You've got one of the guys that kind of comes in, and you got Daryl, like, you know, like this, right? And you've got the guy that lets Daryl out. Basically, it's a really intense moment. And I thought this was really good because it's one of my all-time favorite scenes of this show. The guy lets him out. Daryl's fighting these guys with the frickin' Morningstar, and he's taking on like 10 guys. He's like killing them, you know what I'm saying? And it's a really intense sequence. But then you've got this shit going on with frickin' Isabelle, right? Where she's like taken by Lozang, right? And you've got Lozang that kind of sits there and like he's kind of like threatening her and stuff. She makes a move to take him out, which was badass. She slashed him in the face. Good job on Isabelle. But then he fucking stabs her and she goes down. And she doesn't die right there. Admittedly, I thought she did die right there, but I was like, nah, man, like that's That's a fucking great character. Like, Isabelle is a great character. I personally think they could have had her live. Some people may disagree with me on that, but I was watching this with a few buddies of mine, and we were all just like, why? Like, what the fuck? Like, you know? And you know what I don't appreciate about Isabelle's death, if you want me to be 100 with y'all? It felt like, as soon as Carol was back with Daryl, fuck Isabelle. You know what I'm saying? I mean, literally he did, but fuck Isabelle. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It just, something about it did not work for me. It felt like she was like a placeholder until Carol could come in, and then that, you know, then that was it. It's like, oh, okay, we don't need Isabelle, you know, anymore. We got Carol, you know. It's like, yeah, I like Carol, but Isabelle's a cool character. You definitely could have done more with her character. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that she didn't go out like a badass, because she did. She went out like a badass. That's not the problem I have with it. The problem I have with it is the fact that she dies. I feel like there was so much more you could have given that character. And I genuinely loved her story with Daryl. If she didn't hook up with Daryl like 2 episodes ago, I don't think I would have been as upset. I'd have been like, okay, I guess it wasn't what it was. You know, what we all thought it was. But don't have them hook up and then fucking do that shit. Like, you blew it with Connie, you blew it with Leah, you really fucked up with Leah, and now you did this shit. Like, seriously, like, what the hell's going on, you know? Daryl's love interest, man, I'm telling you, they either don't happen or they're terrible. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But, you know, Isabelle's dead. She got a chance to meet Carol. She did meet Carol. Carol tried to save her life, but it was in her final moments. You know what I'm saying? And okay, now I will say this. This scene was good, where Daryl has the Morning Star. He's going through the halls. He's killing them, right? And it's a really badass scene, and then he sees Carol. The reunion happens. The reunion that we've all been waiting to see. If you're curious about it, if you were wondering, like, what episode does Daryl find Carol? Episode 4. When Daryl breaks out, he kills those guys. Carol is standing there. And I gotta admit, I had a pit in my stomach a little bit. When you see him cry, you know what I'm saying? And then he hugs her. Fucking beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful scene. That was like, I actually have chills just talking about it. It was so good. It was really good. It was actually a better reunion than I thought it would be, admittedly. Because I'm going to be 100 with you guys. I didn't really care about this reunion because they've literally been on screen like a little over a year ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, the main show hasn't been over that long, you know? So I wasn't like that intrigued about the reunion. But the way they did it, a lot more like high stakes than I thought it would be. It was really good. But then they got to ruin a beautiful moment, which, might I add, a moment that almost felt like a reinvention of like 501 when Carol and Daryl had a reunion in 501 of the main show, if you guys remember that. It kind of felt like a modern day version of that, which I liked, you know? But then they got to ruin it by killing Isabelle off. I was like, no, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you know? And from that moment on, the episode started to really lose me for a few different reasons. Carol didn't say jack shit about Rick. We finally got an answer on what it was, by the way. They're sitting there walking around looking for Laurent. Laurent's not at the cave, so they're just looking around. And they're like sitting there, and Daryl's like, you mentioned about somebody coming back. Who was it? And she's just like, it wasn't a person, it was a feeling. I'm like, fuck off. We know Rick's back. We've literally seen it. Like, what are we doing? That, to me, was the most frustrating element of this season so far, because we know that's bullshit. We know that's bullshit. Like, they clearly made that sound like Ick came back. You know what I'm saying? Don't give me this bullshit of, like, oh, it was a feeling. Like, what? I'm sick, it came back? Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't understand. I do not understand that at all. And honestly, I have a very, very sneaky suspicion that she's keeping this bullshit from Daryl, because she doesn't want to worry him or whatever bullshit they're going to come up with. Absolute trash. Now, the episode takes a really odd turn after that. You've got this old couple that they run into, which, like, it turned into a borderline comedy for a little bit. Like, they're, like, lugging this guy around and shit like that. They're, like, eating beef stew, and they're, like, sitting there just chilling. And then the episode takes another turn where the old man makes a deal with Janae, apparently. And then Janae comes in, and then Janae's, like, the big villain again, and then they kind of overtake Janae. Now, this was an intense scene because Daryl and Carol tag team kill a bunch of the Pouvoir members, which I did like the shootout. The shootout was really good, and basically at the end, she catches Carol. She has Carol dead to rights, and she rambles on, as she usually does, and, Carol comes up, or Daryl comes up behind Janae and takes her out. And Janae gets killed. And I thought it was a really, really gruesome death. And very, here's the thing. The death felt very, poetic to me. It did. It felt very poetic, taken out by the shit, injected by the stuff that she did to so many people, to so many innocent people. And she was, sitting there, shaking on the ground, and she dies, and you see her skin turn all crazy and shit. And she dies, basically. It was a really great scene. Very rewarding death for a villain, I will say. Very rewarding. And yeah, that's basically that. They leave the old couple, basically. The one woman, I think gets killed or whatever, but the old couple just felt like filler to me. I gotta be honest, I didn't really care about it. I would have just rathered if Janae tracked them down, just like normal, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was all really good. Janae and her character dying in this episode. I thought it was good timing. You know what I'm saying? Janae as a villain, I thought worked. I think she was really good for what she had in the story, but I do think that her dying makes sense. I do. But here's the problem, though, is that Janae's dead, but now the Pouvoir don't have a leader. So at the end of the episode, you've got Lo Zhang, who is, now captured by the Pouvoir, but the Pouvoir then ends up at the end of the episode being like, well, we need another leader. So Lo Zhang is now going to lead the Pouvoir forward. And that's kind of the cliffhanger that we leave the episode on, is that Lo Zhang is going to be the new big villain. He's like the new big bad. I personally really like that twist. I know not everybody does. That, to me, actually is really good. I think Lo Zhang's a fun villain. I actually quite like him. I like the unexpectedness. I like the charisma the actor brings, and I thought it made a good twist for the season. I like Lo Zhang as a villain. I'm down for him being the villain of the final, episodes of this season. I think it works, and I think Janae went out when she was supposed to. I do. I think anything else, they would have dragged it out. I think the way she went out was very poetic, and I think they did it in a very good way. So what do I say about this episode? Because I don't like Isabelle's death. I don't like it. I think, yes, she did go out like a badass. I do agree with that. But her dying in the story, I just don't appreciate it. Especially after her and Daryl just hooked up literally an episode and a half ago. That's horseshit. That's absolute horseshit. You should have never hooked them up. In my opinion, just let it be. You know what I'm saying? Let them be friends at that point. What the fuck was the point, But I will say this. Her death was shit, and the old people I thought was really bad. It just kind of filler. It didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Everything else this episode, I enjoyed. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I loved this episode. As a matter of fact, I think if they kept the pace up of the first half of the episode, it would have easily been my favorite episode of the show. No joke. It was that good. But then the back half, I felt tanked in some areas. It still had good things, but it did tank a little bit. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Huge eventful episode here. The death of Isabelle and the death of Janae. And now we're going to have to see what Lo Zhang does next. Lo Zhang has the Pouvoir. We'll have to see how he uses them. Time will tell next episode, but that's that. Let me know your thoughts down below. Post comments, and if you're new to the channel and you enjoy videos like this, guys, make sure to click to subscribe. If you don't miss any other videos of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Sure, follow me at Dan's The Walking Dead reviews. Subscribe, guys, and of course, I'll see you guys really soon for more videos of Daryl Dixon. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and peace out.
Born in the dark alleys, city of concrete. Dan's reviews blowing up, never taste defeat. Walking Dead dissected every plot twist beat. World gone mad, TV junkies hit a treat. Typing up scripts, marathon through the night. His opinions hit harder than a street fight scene. Every episode, brain sharper than a knife. He's the beacon of critique, shedding TV light.